So we'll be talking about role of information security today. This is what we'll be discussing about today. We are done with the section 1, so this is section 2, and then in section 2, which talk about role of information security, we will discuss we define information security, and we also explain the organizational structure. We also describe the role of Information Security Board of Review. We will also describe the role of Directors of Information Technology, Service and Security. We also describe the role of data owners. We also describe the role of data custodian. Also describe the role of data users. So let's start. Now let's start with the introduction. Information security is a very key issue in any organizations. A group of well-defined roles with specific tasks has to assign each staff concerned with the department of information security. Now, the structure of information security group is in any organization include this area, which is Information Security Board of Review, Director of IT Service and Security, data owner, which me and you, the customers. We also have data custodians who are in charge. We also have data users who are processing this data, who are using this data. That is these are the organizational group that we have. These are structure of information security group we have in any organization. And then to make sure that all this information are secured, they all need security. You have to protect them. So Information Security Board of Review, ISBR. When I mention ISBR, you should know that it means Information Security Board of Review. The ISBR is an executive and authoritative group which oversees information system, privacy and the security, to protect it, to make sure that it is confidential, the privacy, the protection. These are this group are the one in charge. And then throughout the organizations, throughout the whole department in a business sector, organization and so forth, this group actively collaborates with the Chief Information Officer, which is the CIO, and has the following responsibility. These are the responsibility one after the other we'll be talking about. Number 1, which is the strategies, monitoring, implementing, maintaining a security plan for the organization information system. This information system, the data, information of every of the owner, they are the one to design the strategies of protecting them, monitoring them, the implementation and maintaining them. All the security part of the this is their first task. And the second task is to monitor security policies, the guideline of using, the policy of maintaining and using all these informations. They have to monitor it also, both guideline, operating procedures and technical standard throughout the organization. They are also in charge of this also. Number 3, handle any request for policy exceptions. They are also in charge of handling every request for policy. They are to implement policy. They are also the ones to handle all this. Number 4, they also advise the organization about risk management issues and suitable actions. They are the one to manage. They also advise, consult. This is the security risk about our system, about managing this information, the policy and the rest. And they recommend this is the way to limit the risk, to reduce the risk, to mitigate the risk, or maybe any other things we can do concerning this risk. They also implement this. They also are in charge of this. Number 5, make sure that the organization's security and management rules and regulation adhere to the national and state rules. This is when this is most of the what this area is very what is a critical area that needs to be monitored. They have to make sure that every policy that is being implemented must adhere to the national and state rules, and also to the local rules. They must follow the way they manage the information system, the data. It must adhere to what, to the state and national rules of law and the local rules of law also. And then number 6, in case of security breach, they also ensure attenuation of risk. They make sure that everything is in place, even though after breach, recovery and operation have to come in place, come back to life, and so forth. They make sure all these things are in place. These are their role of ISBR in our organizations. So let's talk about Director of Information Technology Service and Security. So these people, the Director of Information Technology Services and Security Managers, they are the one in charge of development and implementation of organization information security and privacy. These directors, their specific responsibility are similar to other roles, which are as follows. These are the roles of our directors of information technology service and security. Circulate and document all the policies regarding information security, disseminating the procedure and guideline to what necessary groups that want to distribute the procedures, guideline, policy making, implementation, and the rest. They are the ones to make it, circulate it, let everybody be aware. They can use different methods of circulating it. The policy regarding this information, sometimes through email, sometimes through security awareness training, and so forth. They are in charge. And they also come up with training sections, like I mentioned before, regarding information security throughout the organization in order to create security awareness, to create awareness on all these policies. And we also have, they also handle suspected or actual intrusion, taking care of the confidentiality and integrity of information assets. This place they also handle this aspect also. So number 2, we also have data custodian. The data custodian have a very crucial role in securing information system of the organizations. They have the privilege of an administrator and have operational responsibility over all the information assets. They also have to adhere to all security guidelines and rules to protect intellectual property and delicate data of the company. They are totally accountable for the same. They make sure that because they are the one in charge, they have to adhere to the policy. They have to follow the rules and regulation, the rules and regulation, the guideline implemented. So this is their task. And then the responsibility of data custodian, they are as follows. Number 1 is they completely understand the storage, processing, transmission of data. The various processes have to be documented, without which it is difficult to implement or validate data protection successfully. This can be achieved by creating a data flow diagram for some portion of data, showing where the data is stored, how it is being processed, and how it travels in the network as shown in the figure alongside. You see here, this is an example of design, how data flow from customer which send request to the warehouse admin, administrative software. From there it travel to the warehouse database. From there it travel to database to database phase, and then from there the data travels back to the database warehouse, or the warehouse database. The data also travel to administrator software, to also to the customer in case you are making what, if or when the response is coming back to you, and so forth like this. And number two, through operational procedure, through thorough operational procedure have to be what, documented and circulated to ensure consistent storage, processing, and transmission of information assets. This is also their role. Proper implementation of physical and technical protection has to be applied for integrity, confidentiality, and availability of all information assets. This is also the role of what? The role of data custodian. And then thorough operation procedure have to be documented and circulated to ensure consistent storage, processing, and transmission of information assets also. And then with the authorization by the data owner, data custodian also allow or disallow data access. That they also be in charge to either grant owner the access or not to grant owner the access of their data also. And data custodian, but this one is based on the authorization, because they are giving authorization. When they authorize them, they will now allow you to have access to it. And then we also have that data custodian need to comprehend and describe security threats and its impact on the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information assets. And then data custodian also, these are their important roles in information security as follows. Number one, the Chief Information Officer. Number two, contracting officers. Number three, contracting officers, technical representatives. IT investment board. And the IT system program manager. IT system security officers. Privacy officer, and then other participants. These are what other important roles in information security that I have listed. This is their role also. Now let's go back to this line also, which is the Director of Information Technology Service and Security. The director or board of directors has to endorse IT plans, rules and policy, and crucial expenses. For these responsibilities, they should have the knowledge about information technology and data center activities. Now they need to have this knowledge for them to be able to carry out their role. Now this is design from the board of directors. It will get to the advisor, delegate responsibilities now to the risk management staffs. Once the risk management staff analyze it, now it now gets to the representative from senior management to the IT department personnel to end users department staffs. Some responsibility of the board of directors is also entrusted to senior management group or IT steering committee. So they also help in managing this role also. Now let's get to this data owner. The data owner, this group or single individuals, is responsible for any data that is stored on a system, transmitted or utilized within a specific group or department in the organization. This is the owner of this information that are processed. The data owner has his own responsibility, which are as follow. If you remember, when we want to start this session, it's talking about the role of information security here. Now this is the role of the data owner, information owner. Number one, direct power and control of how a specific information is managed. If you submit your information to an organization, you are in charge to tell them this is how they should manage your information. They should release it out. This is how they should process your information. That they should not give it out to any other third party. They should not do this. They should not do that. And number two, this individual could manage, supervise departments, group leaders, or specific staff of the organizations. How they will manage their informations. And then data owners are the ones who can approve or disapprove access to specific data and are responsible for data accuracy and integrity. You are what? For any modification, you are the one to do that. And for the accuracy of your data, you are also the one in charge to do that. And you also have the right to disapprove for them to have access to the information. And you also have the right to also approve them to have access to your information. Significance of data ownership. At the core, the degree of ownership, and by corollary, the degree of responsibility, is driven by the value that each interested party derives from the use of that information. Are you all with me? So that is for data owners. Now, data ownership issues. We also have data ownership issues. The challenges could be a data ownership policy, criteria for ownership, balance of responsibility, technology, and data hoarding. All these factors result in deliberation of decision of data ownership. The challenges that are listed are the challenges we have in data ownership, in decision making. The following list shows some parties that can potentially claim data when you are trying to claim a data. Now, one, creators. A group that generates or creates a data, they have the right to claim the ownership of this data. And number two, consumers. A group that uses the data, they can claim this data also. Compiler. A compiler is involved in selecting and compiling data from different sources, can also claim ownership of this data. We also have enterprise, and information that entered or created within the organization or enterprise is owned by the enterprise. And we also have founder. The party that commissioned the creation of data claims the ownership of that data also. So that is for data ownership. And number 6, decoder. Encoded information is unlocked by decoder, and thus they become owner of that data. If a particular information is logged and you now decode it, you can claim it as a rightful ownership. We also have packager. Packagers format the collected data for a specific users, thus increasing its value and hence claim ownership of that data also. We also have reader. This individual or group of individuals read the data and thus added to the repository of information. Hence, they gain value as owner of the read data also. Maybe you read a content, a research paper, and now you now modify it. You add to that project. You add to that research paper. Like, okay, you propose another method on particular that project, which means you can claim ownership of the refined project, but you are not the starter. You only add to it. You can also claim the ownership. If you have written I know some of us have written research paper here, either in our undergraduate or during masters. When you write when they will ask you to pick a particular project and upgrade it, solve a particular problem, what is the what's it called, like the setback of that project, and develop and improve the project. When you improve the project, which means you add your own part to it, you can claim ownership of such what project or paper. This is also called what? Information. We also have subject. The subject itself owns the information against another group claiming the ownership. We also have license/buyer. If you are licensed, the company or individual that buy the license of a data may claim ownership of that data. Now let's move to the next page. Data ownership issues, factors. Data hoarding is the act of withholding access to a data. Important reasons for data hoarding are as follows. Number one, security, proprietary, economic issues. If you are given access to a particular information, the security may be at risk. A threat can be leveraged on such for giving you access to such information. And proprietary, when we are talking about proprietary, you can tell me something related to proprietary. Ownership. Maybe you are not right to proprietary what? Ownership of this what? Proprietary of this information may be what? Denied of having access to it. And we also have economic issue also. Maybe if you cause economic damage to the organizations, so this also will determine. Number two, documentation of information becomes time consuming and expensive. Maybe documenting it will consume it, will take a lot of times. So this will lead to what? Issues like withholding access to data, withholding access to this kind of data to the ownership, to the owner. And number three, we also have huge quantity of data needed for what? Research also. This can also cause withholding access to data. And we also have technical issues to access shared data on the computer. Like sometimes in your bank account, you may not be able to have access to it based on what's upgrading or there's a threat or any security issue. So not having access to your bank account, this is what's ordinary due to security technical issues. Now we also have privileged informations. This also can cause it. This is a kind of privileged informations. And we also have number 6, issues regarding eligibility of data requester. If you are not eligible to request for this information, this will lead to what? Withholding access to this kind of information. We also have individualist, rationally to withhold what? Data also. And we also have expense to borrow or to borrowers, and the expense to funder. These are lists of what reason a particular information can be withheld from the what? From the owner. Any questions so far? Now let's talk about data classification. This area talks about categorizing data after analyzing it and determining its value. It's called what? Data classification. We classify, we categorize them based on prioritization of the information to the organization. Sometimes based on the damages it will cost, based on how confidential this information is. That's how we categorize them. Based on the values, we categorize them on that. That is data classification. And different features of the policy needs to be kept in mind when classifying data. So data classification. The policy for classifying data are as follows. Number 1, role of people who can access data. For example, all employees have access to all other employees' names, department, and so on, but have no access to their pay grade, home address, and so. And then number 2, security of data. For example, how much data is accessible to whom and in what form. For example, read only or modifying rights. Now in Linux you have read, modify, or read, execute, and write. The read is for you to see it. Write is for you to modify it. Why execute is for you to use it. Execute software for you to see it. Are you with me? So security of the data will now determine who can what we can assign either to read, write, or modify to in C. And we also have time period of which data is retained. For example, financial industry requires 7 years data retention. After that, they can delete it, they can destroy such information. We also have methods used to dispose data. For example, some form of data do not need discarding. Some pretend reports are cross-shredding. Some form of data is discarded by what? Scrubbing pieces. Now, you can shred it like tearing it into pieces or scrubbing it. Some is to burn it so that they do not exist any longer. And number 5, need of encryption of data. For example, payment card industrial standard. Encrypting it in an unreadable format will also help. Number 6, suitability of data, suitability of use of data. For example, US has restriction on use of social security numbers only what as defined. Anything that is not defined based on the policy or the usability on this is what is illegal. Now we have data classification types. 1, private data. These private data are bank account, credit card information, and so on. Your date of birth, things that your medical status, and so forth. These are what's called private data, and it is what only best for you only you to know it. You have company restricted data that is what restricted to a small set of what employee, like managers, board of directors. That is what company restricted. Now we also have company confidential data that is not for general use but accessible by employee of a company. Not for everybody that's associated to the company. Maybe it can be for contractors only, maybe for senior staff and so forth. Not for everybody, not for customers. I also have public. This data that can be accessed by employee or outside public. These are the kind of what classification data classification types that we have. Roles that decide data what classifications. The data owner is qualified to make the decision because they have the most knowledge about the use of data and its value to the organizations. Database administrator or DBA can also ensure the review if programmers and developer writing application understand the type/classification of data that they are working on. Data owner finally check to ensure if data remains under the correct classification. This review is made at least once in a year. That is when IT auditors will come into place to come and want to review, check if this data has been used in the correct way, in the correct classification way has been used. That's where the IT auditors will come. I will advise you should grow your career to auditors in this field. It will really help you. You will be boss. IT auditors, forget. They cash out steadily. You audit information system. You audit how they work, how things are going on, process, procedures, policies. You audit it. They will pay you because most of these companies, all these organizations, they are breaking the laws. and they will pay you to, and this thing also leads to jail. Seriously, it can lead to jail. Like former CISO, Chief Information Security Officer of Uber, he was jailed for making the wrong decisions. He's still in prison. They give him 5 years imprisonment. He's still in prison, I think so, for now. So this is just things that I just talk about, sha. Just an example. So just make sure that you are careful when you get to the top. You know, it's very easy to drop down from the top. To fall from top is very easy. So let's go to the responsibility of data owners. Number 1, set up policy to allow a particular set of people to access, view, or update data according to his or her roles. And number 2, determines data access, data security, data retention timeframe, data disposal method, and decision on data encryption requirements. And number 3, appoint administrator for accomplishing data access tasks based on what data owners instructions. These are the responsibility of what data owner. I don't want to decide for this. Now we will also talk about data custodian again. Data custodian are people who are responsible for the safe custodian, storage and transportation of data and implementation of organization rules. I think we have talked about it before. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about here. In data governance cycle, data management tasks are separated between business owners and IT department. These functional titles are performed by the role of data steward and data custodian respectively. So data steward and data custodian comprehensive responsibility include: number 1, strictly follow the organization data management standard and policy. They follow every policy, rules that is being standard that is being implemented by the organization. Number 2, they develop and involve in escalation and arbitration process. Number 3, they also attend data governance training. Number 4, they pass over requests for data access to specific data steward to help for reuse. Number 5, assist in data governance audits as required also. Number 6, they take part in data governance gap analysis when it is being required. Also have specific data custodian responsibility. Specific data custodian responsibility. Data custodian supervise safe storage and transport of data. The responsibility of data custodian are as follows. Number 1, help data steward and other data custodian in analyzing data issues and inquiries. Number 2, they educate data steward to establish escalation procedure. Number 3, they determine data steward. Number 4, they implement data transformation, resolve data issues, and collaborate on system changes. Number 5, they record all data movements and document in specific repository. Number 6, after data movements, they conduct data validation and reconciliation procedure. This is also was part of their task. Specific data custodian responsibility. Responsibility of data custodian at source level are are as follows. Source level. According to source level agreements, they allocate source data or access to what? Source data. Number 2, they communicate about issues on delivery or quality of source data with the data repository. Number 3, they work with data repository team to make processes to request changes to source data. Number 4, they attend data repository release planning processes meeting. So these are the what? Specific data custodian responsibilities. Data repository level responsibility of data custodian, they are as follows. Data repository level responsibility. They communicate about issues on delivery or quality of source data with data repository teams. You have data repository teams where every process is being done, installation or processing is being done, where they use it, storage, and the rest. And they also define, capture, and maintain technical metadata. When we are talking about metadata, we are talking of timestamp properties of the source information. They also make use of available tools to auto store the metadata. Are you with me? So that is also what the duties, the roles of what data custodian at data repository level. Now, the provision data custodian responsibility are what are as follows. Provision. They identify data steward consuming the data. The people that are consuming the data, they identify them. Number 2, they provide source team with relevant communication of issues with delivery or quality source of data in this as well. This is also part of their role also. Now, these are the difference between data steward and data custodian as follows. Number 1, data steward, they are accountable for data content, and associated business rules. While data custodian, they are responsible for secure storage, transport, and custody of data and implementation of what? Business rules. This is what our data custodian do. And data steward, they are also responsible for the accuracy, privacy, and security of the data. While data custodian focuses on data custodian, like focus of data custodian is the infrastructure and the activities needed for intact data and data availability to users. Number 4, responsible to assign data management roles to data custodians. That's part of what data steward responsibility. Why data custodian? They manage data responsibility. Like data management responsibility is assigned by what? Data steward also. Number 4, the role of data steward, they participate in data governance training along with data custodian. Also, data custodian assists data steward in researching data issues and inquiry. These are their roles. Now, data users. A data user is one who controls the collections or the processing or the use of data. The privilege and responsibility of data users are as follows. Number 1, it is the privilege of data users to seek advice. You know that data users is different from data owners. It is the privilege of data users to seek advice with data custodians and integrating authorities on any information, change, or updates to a data integration project. The consultation also include technical feasibility or limitation issues raised by the integrating authorities. They are the one in charge. They seek advice from the data custodian and integrating authorities on any information to change or update data regarding any project. Consultation, they also consult if there's any technical feasibility or there's limited issues raised by the integrating authorities. Number 2, we also have training regarding high-level statistical integration principles, governance, data protocols, legal issues, security requirements, and privilege of data users. The training is handled by integrating authorities who decide on the course material with advice from from data custodian. Data users, they also take training from the authorities. We also have number 3, data users are provided integrated data sets with full information on cost recovery or fee for service policy where applicable by integrating authorities. We also have the number 4, data users' responsibility is to be aware of and know about sanctions which apply for identifying individual or organization circulate output that enable identification or the misuse of data. They should be aware that if there is any error, like they misuse any information, they should be aware of the sanctions that the organization or the individual that misuse the information will go through. Number 5, when an executive board of data integration advise on changes to top priority projects, data user, data custodian, and integrating authority will need to work together to decide on making enhancement to such project. That is also part of the responsibility of data users. Number 6, data users have the responsibility to pay cost recovering payment to data custodian where it is applicable. Number 7, data users and custodian are responsible to ensure that data sets are used for intended purposes only by following practice that avoid misinterpretation of data. Number 8, data users have the responsibility to pay data integration fees to integrating authorities where it applies. The cost needs to be planned for funding proposal by data users. These are the roles of data users. Any question?
All these things that you are explaining.
Yes.
You know, as a lecturer is teaching, and after teaching students, maybe you have to give them answer to it. You understand?
That's right.
By this now, I don't